Notice this for a moment. Two people walk into the same room. One starts talking right away. They try to sound smart. They try to get attention. They make sure everyone notices them. The other person does very little. No loud voice, no dramatic entrance, no effort to impress anyone. Yet within minutes, people pay attention to that person. Their opinions carry more weight. Their words seem more valuable. And somehow they earn respect without asking for it. This raises a fascinating question. What exactly makes people respect someone almost instantly? Most people spend years chasing respect. They believe it comes from power, money, status, or authority. They think respect must be earned through achievements, titles, or social position. But psychology reveals a very different story. The human brain starts making judgments long before it knows anything about a person's success, education, or background. In fact, many of the decisions people make about you happen within seconds of meeting you, before you explain who you are, before you share your accomplishments, before you prove your value. The brain is already collecting clues, tiny signals, small behaviors, subtle patterns that most people never notice. These signals quietly influence how trustworthy, capable, confident, and respectable you appear to others. What makes this even more interesting is that many of the behaviors people use to gain respect often produce the opposite effect. Trying too hard to impress people can reduce your influence. Constantly seeking approval can weaken your presence. Talking more does not always make people listen more. In many situations, the habits that seem powerful on the surface are actually pushing respect further away. This is one of the biggest misconceptions about human behavior. Society often teaches people to chase attention, to prove themselves at every opportunity, to demonstrate their worth whenever possible. Yet the psychology of respect follows a different set of rules. Rules that operate quietly beneath everyday conversations and social interactions. Rules that affect first impressions, relationships, careers, leadership, and influence. Throughout history, some of the most respected individuals shared certain psychological traits that had very little to do with dominance or intimidation. They understood how people naturally evaluate character. They knew how trust is formed. They understood why emotional control often appears stronger than emotional reaction. They recognized that respect is not usually given to the person who demands it. It is given to the person who naturally signals qualities that others admire and value. The surprising part is that many of these signals are invisible to the average observer. Most people feel their effects without understanding why they feel them. In this video, you will discover the hidden psychology behind instant respect. You will learn why first impressions matter more than most people realize. You will understand the two unconscious questions every human brain asks when meeting someone new. You will learn why the need for approval can quietly damage your authority. You will discover how silence can become one of the strongest social tools available. You will see why listening often creates more influence than speaking. You will learn the powerful connection between emotional control and perceived strength. And most importantly, you will discover the subtle behaviors that cause people to respect you naturally, instead of forcing you to constantly seek validation from others. As we move forward, some of these ideas may challenge common beliefs about confidence, status, and influence. Certain truths are surprisingly simple, yet they explain why some people leave a lasting impression wherever they go, while others struggle to be taken seriously despite their efforts. By the end of this video, you will understand the psychological triggers that shape respect in everyday life, and how small adjustments in behavior can completely change the way people perceive you. The final lesson may be the most important of all, because it reveals a secret that many highly respected people understand, but rarely talk about openly. It is a principle that changes the way people see you, respond to you, and remember you. So if you want to understand the hidden rules behind respect, influence, confidence, and human perception, stay with us until the very end, because each lesson builds on the one before it, and together they reveal a powerful picture of how respect is truly created. Welcome to the channel. If you enjoy learning about psychology, human behavior, self-improvement, and the hidden forces that shape everyday life, make sure to subscribe and join us for more videos like this. Now, let's uncover the psychology of making people respect you instantly. The human brain is constantly making decisions about people. Most of these decisions happen so quickly that we rarely notice them. A person walks into a room, sits at a table, joins a conversation, or simply says a few words, and within moments people begin forming opinions. These opinions may not always be accurate, but they are powerful. They influence how much attention someone receives, how seriously their ideas are taken, and how much respect they are given. What makes this process fascinating is that the brain is not analyzing hundreds of different qualities. Instead, psychologists have found that people often focus on two fundamental questions when meeting someone new. The first question is simple: can I trust this person? The second question is just as important: is this person capable? These two questions operate quietly in the background of almost every social interaction. People may never say them out loud. In fact, they may not even realize they are asking them. Yet their brains are constantly searching for answers. The first question is about warmth. Warmth includes qualities such as kindness, sincerity, honesty, empathy, and good intentions. When people sense warmth, they feel safe, they feel comfortable, they feel that the person standing in front of them is not a threat. Trust begins to grow. The second question is about competence. Competence includes qualities such as skill, intelligence, confidence, discipline, and effectiveness. When people sense competence, they believe the person can handle challenges and make good decisions. This creates respect. If warmth creates trust and competence creates respect, then the strongest social position comes from combining both. A person who is warm but not competent may be liked but not respected. A person who is competent but not warm may be respected but not trusted. The individuals who leave the strongest impression are those who communicate both qualities at the same time. People naturally gravitate toward them because they appear trustworthy and capable. The interesting part is that these judgments often happen before anyone has a chance to prove anything. Small behaviors create powerful signals. A calm tone of voice can communicate confidence. Genuine attention can communicate warmth. Consistent behavior can communicate reliability. The brain notices these signals and begins building a picture of who someone is. Unfortunately, many people accidentally destroy one of these qualities within minutes of meeting others. They may appear trustworthy but uncertain. They may appear capable but arrogant. Sometimes they unknowingly send signals that weaken the respect they could have received. One of the fastest ways people lose respect is through an excessive need for approval. This happens more often than most people realize. It appears in small, everyday behaviors, constantly explaining every decision, repeatedly justifying personal choices, apologizing for things that do not require an apology, seeking permission for every action, changing opinions to avoid disagreement, trying to satisfy everyone in the room. These behaviors may seem polite on the surface, but they often send a deeper message. They communicate uncertainty. Human beings are extremely sensitive to uncertainty. When someone appears unsure of themselves, people begin questioning their judgment. This does not happen because others are cruel. It happens because confidence is often interpreted as evidence of competence. When a person constantly seeks approval, observers start wondering whether that person trusts their own decisions. If someone does not trust themselves, why should others trust them? This psychological process happens automatically. Most people never consciously think about it. They simply feel less confident in the person standing before them. Consider a situation where someone makes a simple decision and immediately starts explaining it for several minutes. The explanation becomes longer and longer. More reasons are added. More justifications are provided. The individual seems desperate to gain acceptance. Instead of increasing respect, the opposite often occurs. The excessive explanation creates the impression that the decision itself may not be very strong. Compare this with someone who calmly makes a decision and communicates it clearly without needing endless validation. The second person often appears more confident, even if both individuals possess the same level of knowledge. The same pattern appears with unnecessary apologies. There is nothing wrong with apologizing when a mistake has been made. Genuine accountability is an admirable quality. The problem begins when people apologize for existing, speaking, asking questions, expressing opinions, or taking up space. Over time, constant apologies create an image of insecurity. The message becomes clear. This person is afraid of being judged. This person is afraid of upsetting others. This person is afraid of standing behind their own actions. As a result, respect begins to decline. People trust your decisions more when you trust them yourself. This simple truth explains many social dynamics that confuse people. Confidence does not mean believing you are perfect. It does not mean refusing feedback or acting superior. Real confidence means accepting responsibility for your choices and standing behind them without constantly seeking reassurance. When people see this quality, they naturally become more comfortable following your lead, accepting your opinions, and respecting your judgment. Another behavior that quietly increases respect is surprisingly simple. It is silence. Most people are uncomfortable with silence. The moment a conversation becomes quiet, they rush to fill the gap. They talk faster. They explain more. They search for additional words. They fear that silence will make them appear awkward or unprepared. Yet highly respected individuals often respond differently. They are not afraid of silence. They allow it to exist. This small difference has a powerful psychological effect. When someone pauses before speaking, it suggests that they are thinking carefully. Their words appear more deliberate, more intentional, more valuable. People begin paying closer attention because they sense that what comes next has been considered rather than rushed. In contrast, constant talking can sometimes reduce impact. When every thought is spoken immediately, words lose some of their weight. Silence also communicates emotional control. A person who can remain calm during quiet moments demonstrates comfort with themselves. They are not desperately seeking attention. They are not trying to dominate every second of the conversation. They are secure enough to let the moment breathe. This emotional control is often interpreted as confidence, and confidence naturally attracts respect. Think about difficult conversations. One person reacts instantly. Their emotions take over. They interrupt. They speak without thinking. Another person listens carefully, pauses, and then responds. The second person often appears stronger, even if they say fewer words. The pause itself becomes a signal. It shows discipline. It shows self-control. It shows that emotions are not in command. Many people assume that respect comes from speaking more. In reality, respect often comes from speaking better. The difference is important. Speaking more can attract attention. Speaking with intention attracts respect. People remember words that are thoughtful. They remember words that are calm. They remember words delivered with confidence rather than desperation. This leads to another surprising truth about respect. Most people enter conversations with a goal. They want to impress others. They want to demonstrate intelligence. They want to show how much they know. They want recognition. But highly respected individuals often focus on a different objective. They want to understand. This shift completely changes the dynamic of a conversation. Human beings possess a deep desire to feel heard. Everyone wants to feel understood. Everyone wants to feel that their thoughts matter. When someone genuinely listens, they provide one of the strongest psychological rewards another person can experience. This is why active listening is so powerful. It creates connection without effort. It builds trust without manipulation. It strengthens relationships without force. Many people think listening is passive. In reality, it is one of the most active social skills a person can develop. True listening requires attention. It requires patience. It requires resisting the urge to interrupt. It requires focusing on understanding rather than preparing the next response. These qualities are rare, which is exactly why they stand out. When people feel understood, they naturally begin valuing the person who made them feel that way. They feel respected. They feel acknowledged. As a result, respect often flows back in return. Ironically, those who spend less time trying to impress others often leave a stronger impression than those who constantly seek admiration. At the end of the day, the biggest secret about respect is surprisingly simple. Most people spend their lives trying to look important. They try to sound smarter. They try to appear more successful. They try to prove their value in every conversation. They want others to notice them, admire them, and approve of them. But the people who earn the deepest respect rarely play that game. They do not feel the need to constantly prove how intelligent they are. They do not feel the need to win every disagreement. They do not fight for attention in every room they enter. Their confidence comes from somewhere much deeper. It comes from how they see themselves. True respect always begins with self-respect. When you respect yourself, you stop chasing validation. You stop explaining every decision. You stop seeking permission to be yourself. You stop trying to convince everyone of your worth. And something interesting happens. The behaviors that naturally create respect begin to appear on their own. You become calmer, more confident, more consistent, more comfortable with silence, more willing to listen, more focused on understanding rather than impressing. The very qualities that people admire in others start becoming part of who you are. Throughout this video, we uncovered the psychological triggers that shape how people perceive you. We learned that trustworthiness creates connection, competence creates respect, self-confidence influences how seriously others take your decisions. Silence can communicate strength more powerfully than endless words. Listening can create influence that force never can. Emotional control can reveal a level of strength that many people overlook. And consistency builds a reputation that lasts far longer than charm or charisma. The truth is that people are always paying attention. Not necessarily to your achievements, not necessarily to your status, not necessarily to the image you try to project. They are paying attention to your behavior. They notice how you react under pressure. They notice how you treat others. They notice whether your actions match your words. They notice whether you are secure enough to stay true to yourself when nobody is watching. People decide how much they respect you long before they know your achievements. They watch your behavior. They read your signals. And the strongest signal of all is simple: a person who values themselves without needing to prove it. If you found this video helpful, take a moment to think about which of these habits you can start applying today. Sometimes the smallest change in behavior can completely change the way people respond to you. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content on psychology, human behavior, self-improvement, and the hidden forces that shape everyday life. Make sure to leave a like if you learned something new, and share this video with someone who could benefit from it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.